I have spent a lot of time playing around with the new alpha releases of GenerateBlocks, and I kind of accidentally discovered something that ends up being pretty awesome. I'm not sure this was an intended use for GenerateBlocks, but it actually unlocks some superpowers we didn't have before. Essentially, we're going to be able to use GenerateBlocks' new systems for creating styles inside the builder to be able to style third-party blocks. Now, that might not make a whole lot of sense as I just talk about it, so we need to jump into a demo so I can show you. I think it's going to be really eye-opening and give you a lot of new options moving forward. So I'm going to start off here with a blank page and a pretty basic demonstration. If you've ever used the core paragraph block before, you'll notice that there's not quite as many settings to style it as there is inside the GenerateBlocks headline block. Now, they have made improvements here where we can adjust different things inside the typography. You can add some of these different options here. If you didn't know, all of this is kind of hidden back here, but it does give us quite a few things, but not everything we're used to inside of GenerateBlocks. But now with the class system in GenerateBlocks, we can actually use it as a CSS engine to create all the styles we need and then apply them to other blocks that might not give us all those options. So what I'll do here is just add a headline block now. We'll go ahead and change it to a paragraph just so I can kind of see what it looks like. And we'll say maybe testing. And now I'm going to use the GenerateBlocks styles to style what this should look like. So we'll just call this test paragraph and hit create. And we're going to start with a blank style. Now we could go in here and just say the text is going to be blue and the font size is going to be 40 pixels and it's going to be bold and there's going to be like 2 em of letter spacing. Obviously this is a terrible example, but I just want to show that we can use all the controls here that GenerateBlocks gives us that might not be part of the other block systems you're using. So I'll go ahead and add a background here and we can go down to the effects panel. We'll add a transform and we'll rotate this maybe just a couple degrees just so we can see it here. Okay, so now we have this class written for test paragraph and everything's been added here inside of GenerateBlocks. With that in place, I'm going to go ahead and save it just so it registers that class, and then I can delete this out of there because that was just for us to set everything up. Now with the core paragraph selected, all I have to do is go back here into those block styles, go to advanced, and I'm going to paste in that test paragraph class. You can see now it's inherited all the styles we wrote using GenerateBlocks. Now, again, this is a pretty poor example, but this will actually come in handy, and I want to show you a practical use case. If you use Yoast for breadcrumbs, you'll know you get a Yoast breadcrumbs block here. When you add that to your page, there's literally no controls for how this is styled. It just inherits your default paragraph and link styles. But let's say you wanted to customize that. Well, we can use this CSS Engine function to create all the styles we need and then apply it to this breadcrumbs block. So let's go ahead again and add a new headline block. I'm going to change this to a paragraph and we'll just call this breadcrumbs so we have something to style. Now here for a class, I'm going to call it breadcrumb. You can see I've been doing some testing before. We'll leave this singular instead of plural and I'll hit create. We'll start here with a blank style and now we can get to styling this. Let's go into the typography section here. I'm going to want to have this as bold. I'm going to change it to 0.8 rem in font size. I'm going to change the text transform to uppercase. I'm going to add us maybe 0.5 em of, maybe 0.2 em of letter spacing. So you can see it's kind of spaced our letters out. Already we can see this new style we're creating for our breadcrumbs is quite a bit different than the other style. But we also need to consider what the links and the hover on the links looks like. So let's say we want our links to be red and we don't want them to have an underline, and when you hover them, they turn blue. So we'll go back here to our breadcrumb class and select it so we can edit its styles. Now we want to click on the link selector. So now we're styling any links that are on a breadcrumb. And what I said in here is that I wanted to get rid of any text decoration. So I'm going to change that to none, which will get rid of our underline. I'm going to change the text color to red for our links. And then I'm going to click this more and we'll do hovered links. Go ahead and do hovered and we'll change the typography here to blue. Okay, with all those rules written, I'm going to go ahead and hit update so we can save that new class. And when we go back to our breadcrumbs block by Yoast, we can type in the class breadcrumb And we can see now this style has been updated to match everything we wrote inside GenerateBlocks. Our link now doesn't have an underline, it's red, and when we hover over it, it turns blue. Obviously, you can see all the changes we did to the typography as well. This may not even be an intended feature of the new release of GenerateBlocks, but it's actually something really powerful that we can now tap into. If you start thinking about all the different third-party blocks you may use, now you have an easier way to style those from right here in the builder without having to go out and write CSS. I'd be interested to learn about any use cases you have for this trick, so if you would, leave comments down below because I'd love to check those out and figure out more ways I can use this system in my arsenal. If you got something useful out of this video, go ahead and hit like, and if you want to stick around to see more videos on the latest updates from GenerateBlocks, hit subscribe and we'll catch you then.